palest man, the blackest suit, bigger than the tallest brute. Fear the man, the Slender Man, for he can do what no one can.
And welcome to another episode of The Room Went Dark, the true crime in film, where we discuss film, TV, documentaries, all based on real events. I'm your host, Lorraine, and this week I am joined... That made it sound like it was going to be somebody different, but it's not. It's Amalie.
It's me again.
This week I'm joined... Oh, it's Amalie.
The listeners going to be like, oh, there's someone new. No, it's just me. Sorry,
Sorry
guys.
to disappoint you. It's just Amalie.
It's boring old Amalie. Still here.
I feel like one day we'll get the intro right, but it just, or maybe that's our signature thing. We just sound like idiots when we introduce the podcast.
Why not? Yeah. Keep this demon.
But this week we are going to talk about a 2018 film known as Slender Man, which is a creepypasta story that was created in 2009 by an Eric Knudsen. And it was done on a Something Awful forum. And, you know, the creepypasta world is basically this big, bizarre collection of stories, paranormal, scary, horror, such as Jeff the Killer, Ben Drowned, and The Rake, etc. And it's kind of taken on this world of its own where, you know, some people think it's real. It's one of those things, isn't it, where some people believe in the Slender Man and other people don't, mainly kids, because it's kind of directed at him taking kids. And it's kind of one of those Candyman things. If you say it 5 times in the mirror type thing, he's going to appear. Yeah. And with this, so it got made into a film, and obviously, Slender Man, I 100%. I know when we talk about supernatural and stuff, we go, maybe. Slender Man, no. I don't think it's real. But the kind of true crime element comes in, which we'll talk about later, with the attempted murder of a young girl because of 2 other girls who felt they had to serve Slender Man. So Slender Man, released in 2018, was directed by Sylvain White and written by David Burke and Victor Surge, and who also is meant to be Eric Knudsen, so I think that's kind of the same person.
Yeah, it's a pseudonym, right? So
yeah, and it stars Joey King as Ren, Julia Goldani as Tellis as Hallie, Jazz Sinclair as Chloe, and Annalise Basso as Katie. And they're basically trying to prove that Slender Man is all rubbish. They watch a video, and it backfires in the worst way possible, because it turns out he is real. Who would have thought it?
Who'd have thought it?
So, was this your first experience of Slender Man?
No, I have watched Slender Man previously, and I don't know whether I watched it on the big screen, because I remember it being quite scary, and then I rewatched it this time, and maybe it's just because I'm miles older and I, watched it when I was, I don't know, in my early 20s.
10 years ago. No. What are we? Are we 2028? No, we're not. Are we 2026?
2026.
8 years ago.
So it's only 8 years old?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you feel like it was longer ago? Let me double check.
Well, I mean, it wasn't, but no,
2018.
It felt like a film that I watched at like a young age, but 8 years ago.
Maybe you were really immature 8 years ago, Emily.
I mean, who knows? Probably. But yeah, I didn't find it as scary this time. And I think, I don't know, maybe just like general life experience and many horror films later, I'm just a bit like meh. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
But it I think it does, there are definitely some kind of jump scare moments in it that catch you. So yeah. I did enjoy it. I will say I did enjoy it. I don't know. How about you?
It's an all right film. I didn't mind it. I actually preferred it more this time around than I did before. I do like the whole story behind Slender. I mean,
yeah,
that's a weird thing to say because he takes kids, but do you know what I mean? I think it's quite an interesting character.
Mm.
And like the way he's designed, because he's like very tall, kind of slim humanoid type thing, and we don't really see his face. He doesn't really have features, but he just looks very smooth. He looks like he's wearing tights to me and this weird or a weird black suit. It's just a very confusing, blurry figure
Mm.
that doesn't really look like anything. It just looks
Yeah.
like something in the distance, that type of thing that's just really tall.
I feel like he's an amalgamation of people's fears. Does that make sense? Like
Yeah.
the no face and the very kind of like, incredibly slim, tall, sort of like creepy movement, you know, added in the fact that he's in this like very corporate black suit,
Yeah. It's just a
but
weird
definitely has
combination.
a stench of death about him. Like
Yeah. It's not the most inviting fella. Um, and the fact that he goes for kids as well is obviously because kids are, and to be fair, these kids, they're not kids. I mean, they're still kids, but they should know better at their age than to go messing with stuff. But then it's so ridiculous at the same time. It's like Ouija boards, I suppose. You think, can't be right
But
until it is.
it's kind of like every teenager's worst fear, isn't it? It's
Mm.
that kind of thing of like, oh, ha ha, let's do a Ouija board when we're a teenager. You know,
Yeah.
in the same way of the kind of like, say Candyman three times or the bloody like we had the Bloody Mary. I don't know if you
Yeah.
had that,
Yeah. I
You
remember
just
that.
like
Yeah.
turn all the taps on in the bathroom and say Bloody Mary three times into the mirror and she would appear and kill you and it
And did she? Did she appear and kill you?
shit, I'm actually dead. I'm not actually Bill, by the way.
You're my imaginary friend.
Doing good. Yeah, yeah. Oh my God, can you imagine if that became your reality?
That'd
Oh,
be
I'm
that'd be
so
a good show.
sorry, you got me as your imaginary friend. Oh my
Just
God,
me
so
talking
depressing.
random things and thinking that someone's talking back to me. Anyway, go on.
Anyway, back to it. But I remember doing the Bloody Mary thing. I mean, I was a child at that point. I think it was primary school that came around.
Mm,
And it would have been something that would have been scarier to do as a teenager, for example. But
mm.
I think there is something about that, this idea of like, ha, we're just going to do this kind of like
We're
silly,
not scared. We know it's not
yeah, like
real. What,
it's not
yeah.
real. Let's just play around with it, and actually it is real, and it's become your reality, and you're being hunted by this like scary 10-foot figure. Like it's
I
terrifying.
suppose as a teenager as well, you want to save face, don't you? Because these things, are not real. You don't want to look like the idiot that's like, I'm not messing with that. Like now I'd be like, I'm not messing with anything. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, just in case.
Just in case.
You never
But
know.
when you're a teen, people be like, "Oh God, you're such an idiot," and stuff like that. So I get the kind of peer pressure side of it because it did feel
Oh,
like when you look at this friend group, Ren, who's Joey King's character, she kind of, I didn't feel like she was as caring and concerned as the rest of them. Like
oh, you
she
don't
didn't
think?
seem like a good friend to me, if I'm honest with you. I wasn't a fan of hers. I thought that the other girl, the sister with the black hair, Hallie was it? I thought she wasn't a good friend because she kept picking her fella over. Was it Hallie?
I think she was just in denial, wasn't she? I was going to say, I think out of all of them, she was the one that kind of wasn't facing the reality of it and was just kind of like,
No, but I think with Ren, I just think that I just didn't take to her. I just thought that she was all about herself. I think at the end, she kind of when she realized the seriousness of it, she
yeah,
might have taken it a bit more seriously. But I don't know. I didn't think they were a particularly great group of mates. It was kind of like,
really.
yeah, I
I
didn't. But
found myself watching it and being like, my teenage self would love to be in this group of girls.
oh
Like, that's
God, no,
interesting.
no, no. I
They were
think,
all
yeah,
a
I
little
think it
bit
was,
gothy and a bit kind of like,
no,
grungy teens.
but maybe that's because I find, and I was an annoying teen myself. So this isn't me slagging off teenagers because I'm sure I was perfection. But I just find teenagers really hard to watch. And when I watch them in horror films, teenagers and young adults, I usually have zero sympathy for them.
Well,
Like I
because
just don't care that
yeah.
they've been killed. It's really weird. In real life, I don't obviously want that to happen, but I think that it's very rare when you watch a horror film, I find myself going, I actually cared about that one. I wanted that one to get through. I wanted that to. I watched. I can't remember what it was, but I watched something recently, and I was really like rooting for this young adult that was probably about 19.
Yeah.
And whereas I find these lot, I'm just like, I just want to go in and go, oh, would you all just cop the feck on, would you?
Well,
But
it's
that's because I'm
because
an
that
old lady now.
classic. Well, this is it, right? And not that you're an old lady, but I mean, like in the
Thanks,
sense, like
Emily.
when when you get to a particular age, I think that's the age-old battle between like
Yeah,
parents and teenagers, isn't it? Is
yeah.
because to teenagers, this is like their life, and it's dramatic, and it's drama, it's ego, it's you are definitely in the crux of like just like not being able to control your emotions, having big emotions, like you're stepping into the kind of the beginnings of the adult world,
Mm.
and it's hard, and there's a lot going on. You're going through puberty, and essentially you're just a bit of a knob. All
But
teenagers, to a degree, are a
it's
bit
weird
knobby.
though, isn't it? Because like I have this thing where I try and and for the most part, I'm very sympathetic to when someone older than me says about life, like, oh, it's more this, it's more that, because I've never been 60, I've never been 70, I've never been 80, I've never been 90. So I can't comment
Yeah,
on whether that's right or not because I've never done it. But it
yeah,
was and this isn't me saying like I'm better than everyone because I would have done exactly the same thing as a teenager and probably in my 20s did it on times and probably in my 30s. And as I get older, I've realized that everybody younger than me knows exactly more about what it's like to be my age than I do, even though they're not there. So, but I've been a teenager, you've been a teenager,
yeah.
and why don't teenagers or people in their 20s because and I didn't listen either, so this isn't me saying to do, but it's really weird. It's like we've been teenagers, we've experienced it, we've
Yeah.
experienced 20s, but yet everybody that's in their teens and their 20s thinks that we haven't a clue.
I
It's a
looking
weird
back,
thing that you've experienced these things, but you have no idea what it's like to be a teenager. You have no idea what it's like to be 20 or 30, even though you've been a teenager, been 20 or 30. But those ones that act like that, they know exactly what it's like to be 50 and 60 and 70, and they're telling you what's what. It's this weird thing that we all do. I've been guilty of it, but as I've got older, I've kind of realized a bit more. But I've been guilty of being a teenager. What would you know? Well, I was a teenager once. Yeah, but that's different.
yeah, but it was ages ago.
Yeah, well, it was
But I
different
think
times.
that's what you think, isn't it? I remember being a teenager and thinking, oh my God, 30, that's so
Oh
old.
my God, I know.
And now
Even
you're like,
20s.
oh, crazy. And yeah, yeah, well, this is
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
But I do think there is something about that kind of self-involvement that
oh
happens
yeah,
when you're a teenager.
yeah.
Your emotions and your like, it's a completely different bubble. It's a
Mm,
bubble of its own compared to anything outside of it in terms of your like lifespan.
agreed.
I do think there is like some serious kind of, sort of self-involvement that happens, that self-centering that happens.
Narcissistic
Yeah, well, kind of a
to a
little bit,
level.
because
Yeah.
it's just the stage that you go through. It's this kind of
Mm,
feeling of like no one understands what I'm experiencing right now. The life is so hard. I mean, there's
yeah,
been so many like comedy sketches about it. You think like Kevin and Perry and things like
yeah,
because it's. And as a teenager, you genuinely feel that way.
yeah.
This is really hard. This is really crap. I feel like rubbish and or like, I just want to live my life and you keep telling me what to do. I think that's the main point is that when you
Mm.
are 14, 15, 16, you genuinely think you're an adult.
Oh, you
You're
know
like,
it all.
I know what I'm doing. I'm savvy and I'm streetwise. And you're like, no, you are a child. Like, but to be told that by anyone that is remotely older than you, you're just like, "Pff, what, whatever. Like, you don't understand me. And it's strange. Like, it's weird. Like you said, it's like, any other kind of age, if I mean, I guess I did have it in my early 20s. And I remember talking to a guy in the pub who was in his early 30s. And he was like, trust me, you'll hit 30 and you'll wake up on the day of your birthday and your lower back will ache. And I was like, shut up. I was like,
Yeah,
this drunk guy, like, what's he on about? This in like 10 years' time, it's fine. And I remember getting to my 30s and getting off the couch. And I still remember to this day that first, like, stepping up like standing up off the couch and going,
Oh,
"Oh!" And I just went, "Oh, what just happened?" And I was
wait.
like, "Oh, okay." And I was literally 30. I think it happened. Yeah,
Yeah,
it was just like a switch. I hit 30
yeah.
and I'm like, I'm
But
80.
yeah, but like, so I think like that's like I think when it comes to the teenagers here, I do find them irritating and I don't have much sympathy for them. Obviously, you've sympathy for what they're going through because I mean, life is bad enough without this thing that you don't understand how to stop.
Mm,
Because, if you were in the woods, and the thing is, it takes in the woods and it's dark and you're not safe kind of anywhere because you see them going mad in their homes and all this kind of stuff. Um,
yeah.
but when it's a figure, like if it was a predator in human form, you could think to yourself, right, I'm going to run, I'm going to call someone, I'm going to do something to run away from this predator. But when it's something like that, where do you run to when the thing's
Yeah.
growing and tentacles are coming out of it? And
It
like
like
it's
moves through doors and stuff. Like there's no
yeah,
way to
so
escape
it's
it, is
it's a
there?
very different, thing. So I get like the fear behind it all and why they're acting up. But I didn't think that they were a very supportive bunch. Like, and I got that they were worried about Katie and all that kind of stuff. But if you remember at the beginning, they were like, "Oh, Katie, come on, we're having to wait now because of you." When they were like sat on the bus, and I thought your friend was with you.
My
She's
friend's
not
missing.
now. Unless that's her thing where she just buggers off and doesn't tell anybody, then I could get understand it. But like she was literally behind you a second ago. Something's not right.
To me, that's a director issue or a a writer's issue, not to, I'm gonna no, fuck it, I'm gonna say it because I think that when you've got like however aged, and maybe this is the thing, right, is that you've got an older guy that's directing the movie, and it's a group of teenage girls. Like I don't know if he can step into those shoes and understand what it feels like to be a teenage
But
girl because
but
if that was my group of friends, I wouldn't be getting on that bus. I wouldn't be going home. I'd be like, I'm staying here until we find her.
but maybe he had like I've experienced those types of girls. They do exist.
They
And
do.
that's the
Yeah.
thing. So maybe his experience, no, and I know what you mean. Like I would find it very difficult to write a teenage boy. Um, but I could write a
Mm.
teenage boy from my experiences of growing up with one, of having them at school and stuff like that. But it wouldn't be to the
Yeah.
core because obviously I'm not a teen, I've never been a
Yeah.
teenage boy. But like his thing, like I've met the mean girls who don't give a toss, who don't give a shit. Oh, like that. Because, to them, it's just an irritation. And maybe it comes from that. Maybe he's coming from that type of perspective when it comes to teenage girls, because
Yeah.
they can be very selfish. And like you said, it's all about themselves. They're very self involved and stuff like that, which we all were. So this isn't a dig. So whatever we say,
Yeah. I'm sorry, any
we
teenagers out
were
there.
once, I'm sure if you spoke to our parents or some of our friends,
Oh
they
my
would might go, "Oh, do you remember when you used to do this and this type of thing?" But so I
Yeah.
think from that point of view, yeah, what does a 30, 40, whatever age man know about teenage girls? But maybe this is based off of God. When I went to school, there was this group of
Yeah.
girls and, that type of thing. So it could ideally come from that, maybe.
It's true. I think it just affected me, like for me personally, like watching the film, it affected how much I really cared about any of them. And I think if they had actually, if maybe the story and the narrative had been that the Slendy Man was just trying to Slendy Man, that's my new name for him.
Renamed it.
Old Slendy Man. Um, if old Slendy Man was just trying to get one of them, and they'd actually spent more time on the kind of like character
Yeah, I don't think,
creation. Do you know what I mean? Like they
yeah,
could
there
have
wasn't much
really
character development for me.
there wasn't enough for me to really care enough. I think if they had really sort of like shown the relationship between each of
Yeah,
them, or like even just like between one or two of them within the group as well, and because there was like kind of like the nice thing with the little sister, but again, it was just sort of like dinner time. They kind of looked at each other lovingly, and then
they got on. Yeah,
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 like we never really see her in the rest of the movie, apart from when she's like, "Are you okay?" And it's just sort of a bit like, they didn't have to do it where they took every single one of the group.
yeah,
What we could have done is just concentrated on one of them
yeah.
And everyone
There's
else
no
is trying
depth.
to save that one. Yeah, it needed
Yeah.
more depth. It definitely
There
needed
was no,
depth.
yeah, because even when, and I mean, I get, you hang out with your friends and there's like banter and having a laugh and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Um, but I just like at the beginning when they're in that room and they're just kind of all, chatting and stuff, like, yeah, I get that some hanging out, but I felt like that's as deep as the friendships really went of them just hanging out, having banter. And, we've all been in that situation, like the situation with Hallie having that boyfriend and her friend being like, oh, you're more interested in him. We've probably all been a bit guilty of putting some bloke or some girl ahead of our friends. I think this was probably a bad time to do that because of what was going on with Katie. Maybe, you know, a
Yeah.
bloke was the least of your worries.
I think
But
she was just trying to like, I think she was
yeah,
in deep
distance herself
denial, was
from,
just
yeah,
trying to pretend to continue to have a normal life. Like it might all go away if she just continues to like date this guy and whereas like Joey King's character was like, come on, wake up. Like this is
yeah,
happening, whether you like it or not, you
yeah,
know.
exactly. And yeah, so I don't think. And I think, like, you just said there about the director relating to, finding it, the writer to teenage girls. I find it difficult to relate to teenage girls now. And I once was one, but it was a very different experience, like for me as a teenage girl, because obviously I lived in a time way back when, I'm Gen X.
Once
And
upon a
so I was
time.
born in the 70s and it was a very different growing up experience because we did,
Yeah.
when I look at like my kid who's 10 and the way they live their lives, like I won't even let
Yeah.
her sit out the front of our house and we live in a private street without
Mm,
me keeping an eye because delivery vans come down and it's just a very different time
very
now, whereas when
different.
we were one we were off running around the streets with our nappies hanging out, not quite that bad, but you know what I mean.
No,
And
we were
you
climbing
you
trees
did
and
as
breaking our
well.
legs and stuff.
Huh? You
We were
are?
we were like climbing trees and breaking our legs and like
Yeah,
falling down
exactly.
trees.
So like, kind of up to millennials, I suppose. But then after that, it's kind of, we see a lot more of it online, and I know that's not real. Um, so it just looks very different to me. And plus, it was a long time ago. So trying to, think back to that, the 80s, it was,
Yeah.
it's
I
my
do
mind
wonder
isn't
if
there anymore.
yeah, but actually, interestingly, I do wonder if current day teenagers would maybe relate quite well to
Mm.
this film because the Slender Man, in a sense, he's essentially like a modern day boogeyman, isn't
Oh
he?
God, yeah, yeah.
It's not like
Boogeyman.
not politically correct or anything.
Yeah, you can say
Um,
boogeyman.
but I feel like there's like my understanding is that he sort of represents anxiety and
Mm.
sort of being watched, that
Fear.
kind of like
Yeah,
surveillance
yeah.
of like never being sort of
And never known where he is.
right. But yeah,
Yeah,
and also
the
kind of like he
unknown.
just shows up. Yeah, the unknown, the kind of like it's all of those like little fears that I think
Mm.
teenagers do absolutely have at that time. This kind of like, am I being observed? More
Mm.
so because I think teenagers do. I think out of everyone, when you look at the different life stages, teenagers are the most observed because
Mm.
in terms of like they're probably the most judged, I think,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
So there's an element of like constantly being under surveillance, not really kind of understanding, suddenly realizing that the world is not as small as it was when we were in like primary school and secondary
Yeah.
school. And having this kind of deep anxiety about like what's out there and what's next and or what's coming next, I guess. But and I guess when you throw in the kind of like the being online and doing the video, um and closing your eyes and saying it all out loud and stuff. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. It's interesting. It's an interesting one.
Well, I suppose as well with it being online, like you said, because like when we, were younger, you were just basically the boogeyman was basically don't go off with strangers. That was the height of
Yeah.
our, health and
Don't take sweets
safety.
from
Stay
strangers.
away from people you don't know, and that was
Yeah,
it. Which in theory, it's the people you do know you got to watch out more than the ones you don't. But these, and we lived in our own little bubbles. Your state, your
yeah.
school, your local corner shop, that was your little bubble. Whereas as we have seen, even as adults, and we can find it quite exhausting at times, you're throwing these kids to the wolves almost with this world out there
Yeah.
that is just on their doorstep, in their bedrooms, on their devices, whatever they happen to be looking at.
Yeah, it's
Like
constant.
we didn't have to experience any of that, and I'm very
We're a lot
grateful
more
that I
freedom
didn't
with
have
that.
to. And
Yeah.
as someone with a kid of that age, it's a battle. Like, do you know what I mean? And it's this
Yeah.
battle of wanting to let them have certain things, but also, like we rein it in a bit. We're not very, we're not, you can have it when you want type thing. That's not how we do things. But like these kids, no one's monitoring them because you don't know what they're watching. Whereas, oh, I'm
Yeah.
going down to the woods. Okay, I know your dad. Who are you going with? Oh, I'm going with Bill and Ben and the Flower Pot Men. Grand. So you're off at the woods with such and such. That I know what you're doing. You might meet a couple of friends on the way. You might speak to someone, but I know that's where you're going to be. And you usually were where you said you were going to be. You
Yeah.
might veer
Yeah.
off a little bit, but there was a radius that you didn't kind of go any further from.
Yeah.
Whereas the world here, it's like I don't know where you are when you're online.
Yeah, yeah, it's
You
fair.
know?
I don't know what you're watching, what you information you're digesting, you know. I think,
No.
I mean, I imagine that, very similar to groups when we were younger of going out to certain places and having certain cultures within like small cliques,
Yeah.
a lot of teenagers now will just be sharing the same stuff within their friendship groups and um but yeah, the sort of like I imagine like we were when we were younger, we had our culture of what we did and where we went, and even our sort of inside jokes and things like that, and
Mm.
and and the things that we sort of shared between us. I assume teenagers these days are probably doing the same thing. They're probably just looking at things that, hopefully like jolly stuff like dog videos and stuff like that.
It's
But I guess
ridiculous the crap that they watch. It is.
I
It's
guess you
not.
do know more, so yeah.
Yeah. It's not like. Um. Yeah. It's not like. It's just a lot of like fast, 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 fast. So it's
Yeah.
this constant flow of these crazy things, and it also gives you the impression that these kids around, like, say their age, between their age and kind of 18, they've got these massive houses, they've got money, they've got, these big pools with giant balls in them. They're doing all these crazy things, can we do this? Can we do that? If we got this, we got, and that's what it is. And it's this unrealistic life that these
Yeah.
kids are watching basically. It used to be like when first social media came out and we would be like, oh my God, look at all these people doing that stuff. And then you kind of realize that's a filter. That's not real.
Yeah.
They're not that
Yeah.
slim. They're not that,
Yeah. Yeah.
they don't have the perfect skin or the perfect hair and stuff like that. And there's nothing wrong with what they look like, but whereas they're kind of thinking, oh my God, did you see how much money that person makes? Oh, look what they've got. And you're having to explain
Yeah.
to them that this life isn't real. But then you go on to something like this, which isn't real. Slender Man isn't real. And it seems so ridiculous to believe that it is. But
Yeah.
yet this happened, to these girls with
Yeah.
something that should have been them just having a laugh at a video,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know?
Well, and that's it.
So,
It's that kind of action with consequence, isn't it? I think there's a lot of the times when you're a teenager, I would definitely remember sort of being kind of like testing my kind of morality a little bit.
mm,
It more maybe immorality, I don't know. But a sort of like you do in your late teens when you're like, but I don't particularly in the UK back in our day.
during the
It was
war.
we'd go out and we'd drink so much. It was ridiculous how
Oh,
much alcohol was involved in my late teens, like on a night
yeah.
out. It was binge drinking. It wasn't
Yeah.
all the time, but just every now and then you would just go out and it'd be pre-drinking and then there would be drinks while you're out and it'd be a mix of different drinks and there'd be shots and
Be whatever you could get.
there'd be some sort of tequila or like some
Yeah.
vile, like
Yeah.
disgusting sambuca shot or something. Like it was mad.
Mm.
And I think there is that kind of period of sort of maybe sort of 15, 16 through until you maybe 19, 20, where you just go, ah, let's just test how sturdy I actually am, I'm in the height of my,
Yeah.
I don't know, health. I don't like whatever it is. And you just sort of it's very kind of testing the boundaries. isn't it?
Yeah, I was 14 when I started, and I remember being outside school discos with straight vodka, and me and my friends, we had about three straws, and we were just like, it was just,
Yeah.
yeah, it was just ridiculous. But out of these things, I think one of the things, and I don't know what your view is on it, but I'm not one of these people that would blame video games and film if people do terrible things. And I think because it's a very, and I'm not excusing the behavior, because obviously for the people that do blame, that are like, I watched Scream, so I'm doing this, or I watched, like, with this film, not this film, sorry, with the character of Slender Man.
Mm,
You had those two girls, Morgan Geyser and Anissa Weir, who were 12,
yeah.
12, and they had a sleepover with their friend Peyton Laughter, who they used to call Bella, on March 31st, 2014. And they took her into the woods and stabbed her 19 times.
And this was like a sacrifice to Slender
This
Man.
was for Slender Man. They were like, we got to do it for him. And, luckily this girl managed to crawl her way to a nearby road where some fella on a bike passed and picked her, got her help.
Yeah.
So probably saved her life, thank God.
Yeah.
Um, and they walked about 5 miles. They managed, because they were just going to head off then. Well, we've done it now. Slenderman's happy. We're going off. But then the interviews with these girls, it's weird because they're kind of like, yeah, yeah, we just, okay. It's like they went, yeah, yeah, we went to the park and then we got ice cream. It's the equivalent to that, and
They were tried as adults, weren't they? And then but
yeah,
found not guilty for
but
insanity.
there's been, I'll, I'll, I'll get up because that was, um, hang on, I've lost you.
It just baffles me how you can have a th group of three friends and two of the three, yeah, I mean, I guess, it happens, but I
Well,
just can't even, yeah.
but that's what I mean. If you, because I think one of them was diagnosed. Oh, I can't remember what it was now, but it was a very severe um mental health disorder, like something
Okay.
like schizophrenia
Yeah.
or bipolar or borderline personality disorder or something like that. It was quite a serious one.
Yeah.
And one of them got 40 years. Morgan got 40 years, and Anissa got 25 in mental health facilities. They
Yeah.
weren't because they're, you know, I know people, when crimes are committed, they like to go, I was insane at the time. And I'm not calling these girls insane, but I think there was definitely something not right there.
Yeah.
I don't think it was
Yeah, like
an
severe mental health.
excuse. And so I think one of them, Geyser, actually, she got kind of released in 2021, or one of them got released and then they were returned back.
Yeah.
Um, because one of them went wandering off with some 40-year-old woman or something. It was just a bit of a shit show. And but I think yeah, she was recaptured after fleeing a group home. Yeah, and that was Geyser.
Yeah.
And I
But
think
I think they were all sort of into creepypastas, kind of
yeah, they were
culture,
all
weren't they? And
it was kind of their thing. Definitely the two girls
Lorna.
uh, Bella, but we'll call her actually Peyton, because I think Bella was their name for
Better.
her, so it's probably not a good idea to say that one for me.
Sure.
Um, but I think what it was is, it for me, that shocked me was how calm these girls were when they were describing it. It was just yeah, and it was in the state of Wisconsin, so yeah, they could have been tried as an adult, and
Yeah.
they were. Um, which I'm a bit with that thing. I'm kind of a bit. I don't know how I feel about trying a child as an adult, because they're not an adult. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I get that. And again, we've spoken about this before. We haven't experienced this, so it's easier to kind of have this kind of opinion. I definitely think that they should be in some sort of facility for longer. And I think the psychiatric route is better than prison at that age, because you need to get to the root of why a 12-year-old would do something like that, because there's
Yeah.
something wrong there.
Yeah.
And I don't think it would do a 12-year-old any good sticking him in a prison with people that are over, 18,
Sure.
and have a very, yeah. So I don't agree with, I don't think I agree with, but then at the same time, you're kind of like, the stuff you did,
But if they're
you don't
trying
just
to
get to have 3 years and then get out on good,
no,
you know what I mean? It's like,
exactly. I
yeah,
think the decision to try them as adults would there was a there was a good reason for doing that, and that was to keep essentially to keep them safe and also keep the outside world safe. In the if they'd been tried as children, yeah, they would have had like 3 or 4 years and then been let out to just live their life. Like, and
yeah,
obviously
exactly.
their mental health was in a place that just wouldn't benefit them in any way, shape, or form, or benefit their community. So, yeah, I think sometimes, I mean, it's not a job that I would want to have, in that system and have to decide whether, how they're tried and all the rest of it. But
Because yeah, one of them is out actually. She got out in 2021. She lives
yeah,
with her dad. But I think the other one had more issues when it came down to it. But I mean, it's a sad thing all round, because you know, you, thinking of the parents of the kids that did it,
yeah,
like that's a loss as well. We've spoken about grieving something, and it doesn't necessarily have to mean there's been a death in the family to grieve someone.
yeah,
But, to know that your kid not only did that, but what does their future look like? Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
Because you can't
yeah.
stop loving your kid because they do something terrible.
Mm,
I mean, maybe you can, I don't know. I'm just speaking from my point of view. I couldn't see that
sure.
happening.
Yeah.
Um, but I'm not, that's not to downplay what other people have been through. But yeah, so it's a tough one when it's kids, because when it's adults, it's easy to go, oh, fuck them. Like, do you know what I mean? But when it's a child,
Yeah, it was
it's
interesting, wasn't it? Yeah.
it's a lot harder, because I suppose as an adult, you think, you know exactly what you're doing.
In theory,
You know?
by then, if
Yeah,
there isn't a mental health issue,
yeah.
then yeah, in theory, you should have learned by then that, these things are not okay.
Because I
Um,
think these kids actually thought that they were doing,
yeah, well, I
what
think I
Slender
think
Man
there
wanted.
was a serious, mental health, issue going on, and they had convinced themselves that that Slender Man was genuinely real, and that
Yeah,
they were gonna hurt them and their families if they didn't offer their friend. Like it's.
yeah,
But
and
this
people
poor
believe
girl,
that.
like I can't even imagine. I think what it comes down to then is for Peyton, it's like, that's her, like, her life now. Like, is
Mm,
she, like, God, you might have, like, I don't know, like, insomnia that you would probably experience throughout your life at points, and like, even as the anniversary of it comes round each year, like, your body must
yeah.
just be, like,
And as a parent, like the fear, because she was so young, like the fear
yeah,
of, like, a simple thing of going to a sleepover, you wouldn't let them do it anymore. Like, you just
I
wouldn't be
don't
able
think
to.
she'd
And
want to
that's,
go, right?
no,
Like,
but what if she did? Like, what if
yeah,
she kind of thought, okay, this was this experience, because people go through terrible things and they don't necessarily think this is going to happen again and stop doing everything. They may worry and have concerns, but they may think,
sure.
no, I'm still going to have a sleepover. I'm not going to let these girls ruin my chance. But as a parent, I'd be like, nope, nope, I'll sleep there too. I'll
Absolutely
sleep
not.
next to you, this
Yeah.
type of thing. So it's kind of,
They can come to
it's,
here and I will
it's
check on
the
you every five
aftermath,
minutes.
it's not just about the
Yeah.
act sometimes, it's this knock-on effect of how, it affects your whole life, really.
Yeah.
Like, do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Um, but with the film, how, because like at the end, you see the way uh the sister kind of sacrifices herself for her little sister.
Yeah.
The ending was a bit kind of, okay,
Yeah.
there we
That's what
go.
I mean. Like, yeah.
It wasn't satisfying to me.
No, because it was just sort of like, oh, okay, this is what's got to happen. And then it
Yeah.
happened. And you're just like, oh, okay. So there was no like twist. There was no kind of like, I don't know. Like, I don't know whether, because we all like we either like a nice happy ending or we like a nice twist at the end to kind of,
Yeah.
oh, okay, interesting. And neither of those two things happened. Like,
No, it just kind of,
she died and yeah, her
yeah.
sister was okay and that's that. But like, I'm like, yay. Like, so the sister's fine, but then the parents have now got to live their life with like a child missing.
Yeah.
Like, it's really
Yeah, because how do you explain
okay.
it? How do you explain where you're never going to find out where they've gone?
No.
Like, so it's like a lifetime of prison mentally
And
for
then
those
that
families.
sister has
And the
either got to
sister,
make the decision to just keep very quiet about what she
yeah.
knows, because she's
Because she'll end
obviously,
up in a
yeah, because
psychiatric.
otherwise she's going to
Yeah.
end up in a,
Yeah.
in a home somewhere or getting like some sort of kind of therapy that she, in theory, doesn't actually need, or not the right kind of therapy anyway. So like, yeah, it was just like a kind of a weird end. But I think that kind of almost sums it up a little bit of
Yeah.
just all of it. This kind of like slightly sort of disjointed, disconnected group that sort of like in theory are like really close but not at the same time. And then the ending's just kind of like, well, this just happens and no one really cares. Like I don't know.
Yeah.
It's an
Yeah.
interesting one.
It's
I
it
still
kind of,
enjoyed it, but it was, I like the concept of it, but I think if it was me, I mean, I'm not a director, so I don't know. I don't know how difficult it is to kind
I
of,
think that's the thing though, isn't it? It's well, what I would have done.
what I would have done. Well, I would
Next
have done
time,
it
call
this
me. Next
way.
time, call me. Oh, so here's we're end it on this question. I'm going to ask you a question to end it on.
Okay.
Would you click the link and do you believe the
Yeah.
Slender Man? Would you
Yeah.
click the link?
Yeah, I would. I would do it because I was that kid. I absolutely was that kid. We did the Ouija boards. We did the like, well, I can't that kind of
Would you
stuff.
click the link now?
Yeah. I mean, well, no, because I'd just be like, this is silly, but like,
Oh, there's a little bit of us scared of the Slender Man.
we're not scared of the Slender Man. I mean, in the sense that I wouldn't, like, if it was like a thing going around, like, I'm too old to care about it, if that makes sense.
So do you if you got a nephew
Yes,
or yeah, you got a nephew. How old's your nephew?
11.
11. So if your
I think
nephew was
so.
like, Auntie Amalie,
Yeah.
I want to click on this link. What do you think? Would you be like, click away, man, click away?
Yeah, probably. I mean, well,
God.
I would probably say that I'll watch it first because I want to check that it's
Okay.
not like terrifying.
Yeah.
Because he's still
Yeah.
youngish,
Yeah,
but like if
exactly.
it's not
Exactly.
like, but yeah, I would watch it,
Yeah.
and I'd
I would
probably
this.
like
I would this.
scare him a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, not too
Yeah.
much, but like, oh, I'm gonna click the link, and he's like, no, no, do it. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna do it. But
God.
just wind him up a little bit. But
Yeah.
would
But yeah,
you?
yeah, this kind of stuff I would. I wouldn't do a Ouija board and I wouldn't let Riley do a Ouija board.
I wouldn't do a Ouija board now.
No, no,
Absolutely not.
no. Um,
Yes.
but yeah, no, overall I thought it was an all right film. It's worth a watch. It did get terrible reviews. Um, I
Yeah,
did like
not surprising.
I did like the cinematography through it all. I thought it was very well shot.
Yeah,
Um, and uh
yeah,
few scary moments. It was very dark. Um, I didn't find the actual look of the Slender Man overly scary. I would have younger.
yes,
Um,
yeah,
it's not what we're used to when we're seeing the boogeyman, when you see like your Michael Myers and your Freddy
yeah.
Kruegers and stuff. They're very visual. But I suppose then with this, it's harder to sit to look at because what are they thinking? Because you don't get any expressions. But when you look at, especially Krueger, not so much Michael, because there's nothing going on there. Um, but yeah, but I wouldn't go into the woods alone at night or anything like that. So
No, that would be creepy as
I'd be like,
hell.
sucks to be you. Oh well.
Oh
See
well,
ya.
you're gone now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But yeah, no, I'm glad we watched it, but it's just a shame about the whole, you know, Slender Man stabbing thing that happened with that young girl. So, you know,
yeah. I'd
if you
I'd
are
like to know what the listeners think of that actually. Like
yeah,
the either the one, what did they think of the film if they've seen it, but two, also like what are their thoughts on people that copycat or
yeah,
like
yeah. Do you
take
blame the
from
media or not?
film
Yeah.
and because it's an interesting one. I think people have different opinions on, but
Mm.
for me, it's like it's with anything, right? Someone is, always gonna utilize something in a unhealthy or abusive way if
Yeah.
they've got their reason to. But for the majority of us, like we don't go around, pretending to
No,
be
and I think
vigilantes when we
personally,
watch
exactly. And I think if it's in you, I think
Superman.
you'll find some way of doing it anyway. Like I think, if it's not the film that you watched, it will be something else. I think if that kind of thing is in you to
Be something else
kill,
later on.
I think, yeah, I just think some things might give you, you know, I think with this, it's kind of more, it sounds more like a kind of cult type reason, when people join cults and they do terrible things because they've been brainwashed, basically.
Yeah,
So I think this is a bit different because they were so young, and I think they were, uh, I can't think of the word, but it was this that made them do it because they were led by what they thought Slender Man was. So it's a
yeah,
very different thing to, I want to kill someone. Oh, I like the way such and such does it in horror movies, so I'm going to do what such and such does. So they would call
yeah,
themselves like the Scream Killer because I watched Scream and I got some ideas. It's not because of Scream. It
yeah.
just gave them ideas. Like, do you know what I mean? So I think the
Well, if it
two,
wasn't that film, it would have been another
yeah,
film,
it would have been another film. Yeah.
almost.
So
Yeah.
they're two very different things, but I still don't blame the story of Slender Man for it. Do you know, that way? It just
No,
unfortunately
this
affected
was,
these two girls in
yeah.
a very different way. So yeah. But yeah,
Yes.
um that's our little Slender Man. And
Yes, Slender
if you
Man.
want to drop us a line or let us know what you think, you can message us on theroomwentdark@gmail.com or follow us on the socials as The Room Went Dark, which is Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. And we will chat to you next week with, I think, Jeepers Creepers, isn't it? So
Creepers,
yeah,
creepers. Yeah. Can't
yeah.
wait. Look
Cool.
forward to it.
All right then.
See
Bye.
you soon.
Bye.
Bye.